Y'all's the hate on all of my moves, but now niggas on it. Y'all used to bait me on me and my views, but now niggas on it. I used to tell them I'ma have me a show, but now niggas on it. Her homies on it. Your homies on it. Y'all's the hate on all of my moves, but now niggas on it. Y'all used to debate me on me and my views, but now niggas on it. I used to tell them I had me a show, but now niggas on it. Her homies on it. Your homies on it. Realest Podcast.
TRP Nation, what's good, man? We're here once again at Focus Studios, 436 East Allegheny Avenue. Shout out to Kyrie Cherelle. I got Ricky and the entire team here at Focus Studios for putting this together and allowing us the space to be able to come together here, host this interview with a dynamic individual representing the Philadelphia government. Today's guest is a Democratic politician and at-large member of the Philadelphia City Council. He was elected for his first term in 2019 and recently reelected in 2023 with the highest votes in the April primary and November general elections. Additionally, in January 2024, he was appointed majority whip for the Philadelphia City Council by his fellow members and also serves as the chair of the Education Committee, the Legislative Oversight Committee, and vice chair of the Children and Youth Committee. He is also an alumni of both Penn State and Lincoln Universities, the latter where he earned his Master's of Education. His formal education would serve him well as he go on to hold positions such as Associate Dean of Students at Sankofa Freedom Academy Charter, Executive Director of Philadelphia Freedom Schools, Adjunct Professor at Lincoln University, and Director of Community Affairs in the city's Controller's Office, just to name a few, before he got into politics. TRP Nation, let's welcome Majority Whip of the Philadelphia City Council, Isaiah Thomas.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Even just the studio we in, and the whole dynamic, so I'm excited.
It's good to be with you again. We were all together for a seat at the table, back in April, and we were attempting to moderate a panel discussion. And it was like some panel, some discussion, sure. Not really a panel discussion.
Right.
But overall, we were able to, make a connection there, be able to come back together today and set that up. And it was very impactful. And for us, that actually led to our recent interview with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and stuff like that. So it's dope all of the residual benefits of.
Yeah, I heard that was a good episode.
Yeah. So the residual benefits of it and all the connections has been good, even if the panel didn't go exactly as we
those two questions
as we planned it. In your role as city council, you wear a lot of hats. In the intro, I mentioned all the committees that you're a part of, as far as chair, vice chair. You also serve as a member on appropriations, finance, rules, parks and recs, public safety, public health, technology, disabilities, creative and innovation, economy. How do you typically divide your day amongst all of these different, responsibilities you have? And I know y'all have session and different things that, come to the floor. There's, impromptu stuff that lands on y'all desk. So how do you divide your day amongst all of this responsibility?
I mean, so the most important thing is just having a good team. I mean, a lot of this stuff you talked about is my city council hat.
Got it.
Thinking about the committee assignments and roles and responsibilities. I have a good staff, I have a good team, but, I'm a dad, right? Got to have a good family support system. I got my PIAA hat on.
Right.
I'm very much involved in sports, local sports, adult sports, high school sports, middle school sports. That's really my thing. Still coach high school basketball, right? Sit on the board for PIAA District 12. All that stuff really mattered to me. It's summertime, so I do a free camp every summer, 300 kids, from across Philly, come to my camp just because we have been doing it for a long time. And, for the most part, we the only game in town at the end of the summer because most free summer programs are over and school hasn't started yet. It's just about having good people around me. Yeah. That's really it.
Did you play ball?
I did, yeah.
Ooh.
So I actually grew up, I'm Philly, so I went to Elwood, Conwell, Frankfurt. So I played on Elwood's elementary team, Conwell Middle School, Frankfurt High School. I'm class of 02.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's, I'm really into the basketball scene, the basketball culture in Philly. I love all sports, but, the basketball community in Philly is its own little cult.
Yeah. Your name is Isaiah Thomas. You kind of have to.
I don't have a choice, right?
You kind of have to.
And the crazy thing is, all my siblings, at least my brothers. My little sister played basketball, but my brothers, they all play football and baseball. You know what I mean? So it's like I felt like an obligation.
Yeah.
Now they'll say I'm soft. Like he the baby brother. He's soft. So that's why.
And you come from a really big family too.
Yep, for sure.
How many brothers and sisters? You have?
So I got 6 older brothers. I got 3 younger sisters.
So it's 10 of y'all in total.
Yep. My dad had a big family. You know what I mean? My mom had a big family too, so
Yeah.
huge.
And what area of the city are you from?
I'm an uptown kid.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm uptown. A lot of people think I'm from Frankfurt because I went to Frankfurt High School. I did a lot of work in Frankfurt.
Yeah. Why
you
Frankfurt High School if you was uptown kid?
Come on, do we really talk about them rules, right? It's a different day. So my dad was the dean at Frankfurt.
There's my answer.
I mean, and you know, I went to Conwell for middle school, so I had like disconnected from like uptown schools. So like King really wasn't the best option for me.
Right.
I actually really wanted, it's crazy, I actually really wanted to go to Bodine when I came out of middle school, but I didn't get accepted because I had too many twos. Apparently that was like a thing.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to Frankfurt because I didn't get accepted to Bodine. And I mean, honestly, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. I love graduating from Frankfurt, dope alumni. Some of my best friends in the world, you know, come from Frankfurt, and I love it.
That's what's up.
What inspired your transition from, you know, having, you know, such an educational and community-driven background to even want to get into politics to begin with?
So that's a good question. And honestly, I probably have one of the most non-traditional political backgrounds that you'll see out of any elected official in the city. And for me, I really got my start when two things happened. I was involved in a program called Freedom Schools. And in the midst of my work in Freedom Schools, I connected with a local state rep. At the time, it was a guy named Tony Payton. Mm-hmm. Tony Payton, at the time, was the only young black state rep in the whole Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I was doing Freedom Schools in the district. He hired me to do work for him part-time. And that kind of started to put the battery in my back to really see, touch, and feel politics and how it worked. You know, Tony worked hard. He brought a lot of resources to the district. And while he was doing that, a second thing happened, which was the governor, Tom Corbett, he cut education funding significantly. If you remember, we had that recession back in 08, 09, around that time. So once, you know, government took a big hit, they chose to balance the budget on the back of education.
Right.
And so I seen that happen. And at the same time, while I'm seeing this young guy bringing resources. And so that's kind of, you know, what put the battery in my back is like Tony and his team encouraging me to run for city council. Now, you know, that probably wasn't the best decision at the time. You know, I got my ass whipped.
What did you learn through the getting your ass whipped process
I'm saying,
about how
what it
politics
did was,
works and how you needed to mobilize?
It put me in the game, right? Like, that's what it did. It you know, there's a lot of ways you can get in the game. Some people get a job. Some people volunteer. You know, for me, I just ran, right? And so working for Tony, that didn't put me in the game. You know, Tony was he was progressive before it was cool. He was an outsider. He was doing his own thing. Yeah. And, you know, when I decided to run for office, it showed me campaigns. Tony showed me how to legislate, what it meant to govern. That's totally different than running for office.
Absolutely.
There's a totally different science to it. So for me, what it did, and I was young. I was 26. You got to be 25 to run for city council. So I'm 26. I'm running for office. You know, I did not know how to raise money. That's the biggest problem I had in that race. I remember joining a fellowship program called New Leaders Council while I was running for office, and basically this was a fellowship program that trains the next generation of executive directors, CEOs, you know, elected officials, and I'm literally learning everything I'm doing wrong while I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
You feel me? The closer I'm getting to election day, the more it's becoming clear to me, not just that I'm going to lose,
but why I lost.
Bingo.
So what were you doing before you actually decided to run?
I was a teacher. I was working part-time for Tony Payton, but I was a teacher. I was getting my master's degree in education at Sankofa.
Okay,
so in my mind,
you were a teacher before you became the dean, assistant dean.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I probably was. Maybe I was the dean. I don't know, but it's all a teacher in my mind.
Right.
So I'm in the education space, and in my mind, you know, before I started working for Tony, I wanted to be a principal. I wanted to be an administrator.
Right.
You know, I was teaching, dean, athletic director. You know, so I was already in administrative space, but still being able to be in a classroom. Like, that's really my calling. Politics, I think I'm good at it. But working with young people is my calling. That's my gift from God. Like, that's my purpose on earth. You know, it's two different things. Yeah. You know, we do one thing, you know, that's whatever, call it what you want. But then there's another thing that you know deep down inside is your purpose. Yeah. And for me, that's working with young people. So that's kind of how my journey started. I lost the first race in 2011, 26 years old, lost pretty bad. Lost the second race in 2015, lost real close, right? So think about what Stacey Abrams went through when she had and my man in Florida, all that stuff. Like, when you watch people with the recounts and all that, I went through that before all of them did in 2015. Really? Yeah, gotcha. My race was that close in 2015. I actually ended up losing to Helen Gim I was in 6th place. So after
how
that,
close was it? Do you remember?
yeah, it was like 1%, like less than 1%.
Ooh.
It was if I would have had one more vote in every polling place, I would have won by a lot.
Yeah.
So it was that close. And so I lost in 2015. And then that's when I kind of like took a step away for a second because it costs a lot of money to run for office. And the first time,
Absolutely.
it cost me a lot of personal money. But the second time, I did raise, $150,000.
Right.
So for me at that time, that was a lot of money. I had
Yeah.
never raised no type of money like that. And to still lose, and to lose the way you did, heartbreaking buzzer beater at the end.
Yeah.
On election night, everybody's sitting around and you don't even know the outcome. I can't even say.
Basketball player called it a buzzer beater.
You feel what I'm saying? I can't even really say if I won or lost, and it was just an emotional roller coaster. And now after the second race, now my life is different. I'm a dad now.
Right.
I got to make different financial decisions because running for office is a risk.
Yeah.
Not only do it cost you money, but you ain't making no money because all you're doing is campaigning.
Right.
So whatever you do to get money, unless the money make itself without you actually being there,
Right.
that get put on hold.
Sorry. You said you learned how to raise money.
Yeah.
What exactly happened? Like, what is it that you had to learn to do that?
I had to I had to undo stuff that Philly naturally teaches you growing up. You feel
I love
me?
this point. Please make this point.
In Philly, like, if you walk up to somebody and just introduce yourself to somebody, right? Like, we looking at you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in business, and in normal society,
Yeah, that's the norm.
It's called networking.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So I had to expand my Rolodex. I had to put myself in spaces that where I didn't organically belong. We think about the people we went to high school with, the people we went to college with, the people you went to church with, the people you went to summer camp with. Those are like organic places. But for us who come from, middle class, poor neighborhoods in Philly, when you step into this space, that limits who your donor pool is. I would even say the same thing for the nonprofit space.
Oh, yeah, for
If
sure.
you start a nonprofit or even the venture capitalist space, right? Anytime you try and get access to revenue, no matter what type the business is, often for us, it's not organically in front of us. It's not organically in our network. So you got to step
can't go to your
outside
dad and
realm.
get $5 million.
Bingo,
or
you feel what
whatever
I'm
to
saying?
Start a VC.
So
for
now,
sure.
but that person does exist. So how do you meet them if they're not at your church or a part of your fraternity?
Some
Or, you
shit.
see what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
if you're not at the age where most of the people in your circle has matriculated and matured to the point where they making that type of money now because it take time. So basically, what I did was I learned how to network, and it sounds so easy, but if you're from Philly, you know how you have to almost untrain yourself, how you basically survive in Philly
Right.
to be successful in other spaces. So that was really the main thing,
Yeah.
like getting comfortable introducing myself to people who didn't know me, getting comfortable being the only black person in the room, getting comfortable, stepping into spaces that even if I'm by myself, I could walk up to somebody and introduce myself and try to build some type of personal relationship.
Yeah.
And once I begin to get good at that, and I got more people introducing me to more people, that's really how I learned how to raise money, is by getting into networks of people who have the ability to write you a $500,000 check.
Yeah.
And then also the second side is when you fundraising, just recognizing that you're going to get way more no's than yeses. So when you first starting off, they say the yes rate is 20%. 2 out of 10 people will say yes.
Right.
So the best fundraisers is the people who ask the most. So you keep that rate, you ask 50 people, I ask 100 people, well, I'm naturally going to raise more money than you.
Absolutely.
Right.
So it's being okay with the no and recognizing that it ain't you that is the reason it's the no. It's the no is the game.
And sometimes that no is a not right now.
For sure,
And then
that's a
that
good
person
point.
doubles back.
True.
And then they
True.
might be like, oh, I saw the work that you put in. I was
sure.
unfamiliar with you before, but I know now.
That happens
Take
often.
this money.
For sure. And then a lot of people in the fundraise, in the donor space, again, no matter what realm of donation you're talking about, they respect the ask. You feel me? So think about us as black men growing up in Philly. We don't like asking for
Nothing.
You know what I'm saying? I got it on my own.
Got it out
from
the mud.
muscle. You feel me? Like that's what we ain't practiced this, we ain't rehearsed this, but we all know because it's in our DNA. And and again, these are like the things you kind of got to unteach and untrain yourself in order to be successful in some of these spaces. And that's what I had to kind of learn how to do in the fundraising space. That's how I've won.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. How do you go from, over the span of 12 years and 4 election cycles, how do you go from getting blown out to getting the most votes out of everybody?
Outwork everybody. it sounds so cliche-ish, but, you know, I was talking to my staff earlier, legit, even Emily, who here right now. So Emily made the podcast. That's crazy. That's what happened when you put the work in. But Emily, even here right now, she was a part of the conversation where I was just telling them that in 2024, I'm just slowing down a little bit because, you know, I've been at this for a lot of years straight. You know, when I lost my first race in 2011, I knew I was running again in 2015. I knew on election night I was running again because I knew I knew I was going to lose it. I knew I didn't put my best foot forward because I didn't understand what I was stepping into. So when I lost in 2015, you know, while I might have took a little step back from politics, I had to get my personal stuff together. So I was hustling. I'm grinding. Then I finally went in 2019. I get sworn in 2020. Pandemic, 3 months in. So I spent, you know, the first 3 months in office learning. And then after that, everything I learned went out the window because the pandemic started. So now we just starting to get some sense of what normal is. I had re-election in 2023. So this is really my first time in 10, 15 years just kind of slowing down for a second. You know, and that's what I've been kind of doing this year, and that's kind of been the journey up until this point.
Yeah, shout out Alicia Roebuck. Me and her is having a conversation. She says most people really don't truly use their personal network the right way. Do you think that mattered in what you were trying to do in running? That's
crazy. Alicia is folks too. She folks. It 100% matters because like it's ecosystems. You feel me? So that first layer of people that you touch is your direct network. Your brother, your sister, your family.
And
you know what I'm saying?
Like y'all like the Jacksons, so it's a bunch of
you. Feel me? It really are. So like my sister and my dad, they always hold me down when it come to petitions. One of my brothers, he always hold me down when it come to election day. It's a matter of taking the people in your network and figuring out what they do well and
putting them in that position
to utilize that stuff because you know, people, power, and time is just as valuable as money. I'm only raising money to spend it. You feel me? So if I'm raising money to spend it on an event planner, but my sister-in-law does events, then I mean that's money I don't have to save because I got that people power. So you start with like your family, friends, and personal network, and then you expand your ecosystem to that next phase, which is who would have a vested interest in you, right? Who would invest in a young black man? So for me, examples was like Kenyatta Johnson. You know, Kenyatta he our council president now.
Yeah,
but,
shout out Kenyatta.
You know, he is a young black man that's in before me. So if you support him and you stand for his agenda and you see my agenda is aligned with him, that's an example of somebody who you could look to help build that next layer of ecosystem of people who might not know you but support you because you're a young black man that stand for, you know, reducing crime, investing in kids, you know, putting dollars in public education. And so that's how it works. You just build out these ecosystems and you hope that you build enough momentum throughout the course of the campaign where it just catch fire, right? You need that like, not necessarily like viral moment on social media, but you need that like political viral moment where everybody feels like you've gained enough momentum, whereas though like, oh, such and such is going to win. So we want to get on board now.
Right. During your tenure as city council, you've been a leading advocate for driver equality and equity, which is a crucial initiative focused on easing tensions between law enforcement and the community. What made something like that such a high priority for you going into your first term in city council?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was going to do something like about it as soon as I won.
Yeah.
I'm 39, I'll be 40 this summer. So for us, we grew up in an era, and I don't want to argue with the old heads. I understand it was tough. I'm not knocking their experience.
Yeah.
But we grew up during that prime experimental stop and frisk era.
Yes.
You feel me? So like for us growing up, getting pulled over by the cops was a rites of passage. It was normal. Everybody knew if a cop was going one way, you go another way, and you just made the wrong eye contact, you knew he was making that U-turn.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I've had that happen to me.
Everybody got
on 52nd in Baltimore, right in front of that fire station that's right there. I'm driving north, cop driving south. True, bust a U-turn, hop right behind me.
We all have our stories.
I had a cop bust a U-turn on me because he thought my stickers was bad. That was
the same reason.
Got up there, saw the stickers was good. Was like, still give me on your license.
You see what's up with you.
Imagine
what's going on.
I mean, just imagine how good your vision got to be to spot bad stickers on a moving car while your car is moving
across traffic,
which is crazy. You feel what I'm saying?
I thought that was a one.
That's crazy.
And the only thing that saved me, he got 30 seconds into the stop, and then like a shooting or something came through. And he was like, "All right, take your stuff."
Nothing saved me. We was out there for an hour. We was out there for a while.
And I'm a mix. I got a lot of them. My worst one started with a bad stop that ended, it was a while, but ended early because of a shooting. and they just left.
Yeah.
And so like that, when I won, I knew I was going to do something about that because I mean, we had seen some of the viral videos, and when we growing up, it ain't no videos, ain't no recording. You just gotta take it on the chin. Whatever happened, and you kind of just happy that you didn't get booked, and you walk away with your life. No serious injury, you're not booked, you walk away with your life. You kind of gotta eat it. That's how we grew up.
Yeah,
It ain't what it's supposed to be, but that's how
mantra.
we grew up. And so, like for me, once I got in, and I knew I could do something about some of the stereotypical things that we experience, it inspired me to really write the legislation. And then you had so many viral moments that happened with black men in cars leading up to it.
Yeah.
You know, we put together a comprehensive team to pass the bill. I got to give a shout out to Kiera Bradford Gray because she was the person, like she was the legal mind who helped me figure out.
We sat with her at the barrister's breakfast. She's real cool.
She is.
Yeah. She was at our table.
She helped me like figure out how to think through it from a legal perspective. Like how can I legislate it? But you know, I could talk about the bill, but I think one cool thing that people don't know is that, you know, this was a collaborative effort. So it was City Council, the Public Defender's Office, Kiera Bradford Gray, the Mayor's Office, and the Police Department.
Right.
The police sat with us. We put together a working group that coordinated for a year to come up with 8 motor vehicle code violations that we felt like would not have a negative impact on public safety, that we can all agree could begin to curve some of these issues of, you know, black folks being pulled over for nothing.
Right.
As of now, we've seen a reduction in stops. We still have more work to do. But I think the dope thing about it is like the legislation is picking up traction, whereas though other legislators all across the country are trying to pass the bill.
I know there's
to address
something
driving while
similar,
black.
I believe they adopted in Pittsburgh, I think, as a result of the Philadelphia legislation that you put into play.
Pittsburgh is an example. It's a number of examples, but you know, my namesake, no relation, Councilman Thomas down in Memphis. If you remember the bad traffic stop that happened in Memphis with the brother losing his life, in a response to that traffic stop, she introduced driving equality, and it was passed. To me, that was dope, right? Because you watch something that turned into a national viral moment, and them look at legislation that we pass here in Philly as a possible solution to systemic racism that they're dealing with down there. Now, you know, they have other issues on the state side where they basically have come in and tried to make it so that that bill no longer exists, and that fight is still going on. But just the fact that people feel like this is a solution to a systemic issue that black people are dealing with all across the country, it just reassures that we're moving in the right direction as it relates to what I'm trying to do.
Did you get any pushback from?
Every day. Somebody listen, when you post this, John, and I retweet it, wait till you see how many people come right into it. I repost it as soon as I go, right? Oh man, you're gonna get a whole new set of following. They're not gonna have no profile picture on their page.
Yeah, just the
And
eagle.
yeah.
Heavy eagle.
The eagle.
Yeah.
Or you know,
William Penn.
Yeah,
The Philly fanatic. You already know that.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So of course we're gonna get pushback because, you know, we are this is anti-police.
I had
But
a
we work with the cops.
conversation
You
with
feel
a
what I'm
cop
saying?
who said that was like some silent protest thing that might have been going on during that time period, like of the fact that power kind of got relinquished in not being able to do that.
Is it? Did power really get relinquished?
That's the attitude.
Do you know how many motor vehicle code violations there are in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Probably hundreds.
We modified 8. You feel me?
Yeah.
8. And one of them is the emission and inspection stickers. That's 2 of the 8 is emission and inspection stickers.
Right.
Basically saying that that's not a reason to pull somebody over. And if you really think about it, we laughed about it earlier, but how can you really pull somebody over for that? How did you see that? You feel
It's
me?
crazy that we've all dealt with that.
That's what I'm saying, but how did you see
3
it?
black men on the same, all similar age. I'm 41, you 39, he 39. Like all experienced it.
You can't even. You see, that's really what we call a secondary offense. That's something that you enforce once you pull somebody over for something like speeding.
Yeah, it's like,
or
oh,
running
by
a
the
red
way,
light.
why
You
your
know what I'm
stickers
saying?
banned?
I remember it was May, and he rode past me. He said, "I thought that was a 1. It was a 7."
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, we here. Let's."
We hear it, right? I might as well pull you over.
I'd already called it in. I'd already called it in, big man.
about
I know the crazy part is we all can laugh, but that's the sickest part.
Man, we laugh to keep from crying.
No,
right? What
no.
Chappelle say? This racism is killing me inside. You feel me? Like, but think about this. How often you see somebody speed up Broad Street?
Yeah.
Broad Street, my favorite example.
Yeah.
Why? Because you see cops on Broad Street. And look, Bethel is the commissioner, great dude. police department doing a great job. But what you can't tell me is that my bill keeps you from pulling people over. Not while I have these two eyes witnessing what I'm witnessing.
Yeah.
There's enough
They
reasons.
speeding with the stick, loading it up, smoking weed, and they just like, oh, yeah.
The fake tags alone is a reason to pull somebody over.
Yeah.
Just that. Just the fake tag. I mean, how many fake tags you see? And I'm not blaming the local police for that problem because, look, my cousin is the mayor of Camden. I know elected officials all up and down the East Coast. That's not a Philly problem. That's a problem right now, post-pandemic, because we moved everything electronic as far as tolls and stuff, and people see it as a way to get around some of that stuff. So at the end of the day, it's a systemic problem. People always give me pushback around the bill, but it's rewarding when you see some of these viral problems and people look at this as the solution.
Out of the 8 things that y'all changed, it's I know the stickers is in there. Is headlights and taillights in there?
One broken tail light.
One broken tail
is
light,
allowed,
right.
but it has to be. So it's tough because you got like an old school car and you have one broken tail. Like I used to drive like a 94 Buick. That would
We all did.
Welcome to the club, brother.
that would be, that old school where there's only one tail light. That could be considered a public safety hazard. But if you think about newer cars, multiple lights,
Right.
That's not. So one tail light is allowed to be out. Headlights got to be in. Minor damage to the bumper is allowed. You technically can't have, like, you have a car freshener hanging from your mirror.
Yeah.
That's a reason to get pulled over. So that's included in the legislation, so you can't get pulled over for that, right? Things that
I had a cop tell me that one time.
But
because I had my graduation tassel
I'm just
hanging from
something
the
like
front.
that. You feel me? But I'm just saying, like, I don't know many white people who get pulled over for having an air freshener hanging from their window.
That's real.
So it's at the end of the day.
They give them to you for free at the car wash.
Hey, let me pick from 337 air fresheners. Why wouldn't I hang it up?
You know,
You let me pick from 300. That's real.
so
That's real.
that's our theory.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't pull a white person over for it, don't pull us over for it.
Yeah.
You running a stop sign, you speeding, turning left we ain't supposed to. Look, all that stuff, pull people over for it. But I'm just saying, man, treat us equal.
You're right.
That's it. And we know it's not happening. And as legislators, it's our job to put bills in place to be able to do it. And the craziest thing, in other parts of the country, people use technology to enforce motor vehicle code violations instead of police.
Yeah.
Like speed cameras and stuff like that. So when we talk about it in Philly, we taking power away. I'm not taking power away.
Right.
We're about to have speed cameras all up and down Broad
They
Street.
said, I saw the thing Broad Street is supposed to be getting them.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's not taking power away. That's basically saying, like, we can enforce motor vehicle code violations without violating black people rights.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it that way.
And allow y'all more time to do actual police work. There's a concept that nobody's ever thinking about. Like, y'all get plenty more time to do real cases.
So one time they gave us this is a dope
We ain't
thing
got no
about
hour out here about these stickers. That's good. Yeah.
So one dope thing about being an elected official is you just get access to so much information and data. And if you a nerd like me, I want more information, more data.
Mm-hmm.
So one time we seen a graphic that showed us how much actual time police spend on crime.
Probably like 33% of the time.
Bruh, I'm saying, like, out of all the hours and all the manpower, like the actual like crime side, very little is the
Minutes.
number I'm
Yeah.
going to say.
Yeah. I can believe it.
So at the end of the day, when we say we want to free up police time to be doing other things, that's like a real thing,
Yeah.
right? When we talk about construction and big construction, let's use a different type of person to protect those folks instead of a police officer.
Right. Public safety officer or something.
Sheriff's department.
Yeah.
It's a lot of options.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a police officer. The sheriff's department can't investigate a homicide, but they can sit and protect construction.
Yeah.
They can help work an event that's pretty crowded.
Right.
We got options.
Yeah.
We actually passed legislation to have public safety officers to do just that. Y'all ever see a public safety officer before?
Not in the history of Philadelphia.
You feel me?
Yeah. Like man in parades and stuff like that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there are other, or give out tickets for these people.
Is there I don't want to get you in trouble.
I ain't gonna get in trouble.
But is there an element of like the police using all of this like tertiary stuff that they do to substantiate all that overtime that's in their budgets and stuff like that, where it's like, why do y'all need parade detail? Why do y'all need to be doing all the construction? Like, it's just some stuff that where it's like when you present it and you say public safety officer or sheriff's department, it makes perfect sense to me as somebody that's paying into the pot of taxes that go to and through the city.
It just
And
don't
paying
make
a
sense.
lot, you
It
feel
just-
me?
It just don't make sense for my boat.
They're paying a lot, you feel me?
That's true.
We don't play when it comes to taxes. So the way it's done is through contract negotiations with the city.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember one time there was an incident that had taken place, and we were brainstorming what was the best way to respond to it. And I recommended calling our sheriff, Rochelle Bilal, and asking her to see if she could deploy some manpower to help with the particular issue. And what was told back to us was, from a legal perspective, it will violate the contract with the FOP and the union. So that is a part of it. Now, overtime specifically, that's really not on them. Let me give you an example. You know, the most overtime that I've seen paid out to police during my time as an elected official, take a guess.
You talking about hours or money?
Money, hours, both things.
As far as a yearly thing?
Nah, just for the whole year, right? So
Maybe the
look
year
at
when
it
the
for
Pope
year.
came.
And I'm on the appropriations. That's a great guess. That's a great guess.
I was going to say COVID year.
Close. It was during COVID, but what happened during COVID?
George Floyd?
Bingo.
Yeah.
The reality is all that protest during George Floyd.
Yeah, we got to
just
stand out here.
So you protested. We protested the police.
Tear it up. You know? I'm out
Police
here.
got paid.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
They made
Like, what time
out-
they protested today?
bruh. That was a year for them. You feel me?
Making
Because
payments on this Ducati.
think about all
Putting
them,
that Red Bulls in his lunch bag.
you feel me?
Never coming home. Yeah.
Think about all that protest that was
Yeah.
happening
Oh, yeah.
that year, all that civil unrest, and then you also got to think about, from the fire and ambulance perspective, all of the emergency and 911 calls that was needed to respond to COVID. So most of the overtime you see, that's not the actual, beat patrol cop. That's administrative stuff. And, I would bet some of that stuff was running rampant and did get out of control during that time, just because you had so much different stuff going on. But when you look at how much we pay in overtime, the reality is we give the firefighters the most money overtime. I remember we looked at a year where we had maybe a couple dozen firefighters who made more money in overtime than their actual salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder my cousin got 3 cars and 10 girlfriends.
Yeah, firefighters. Oh man, they eating. But this is the thing. This is the data. It ain't me. Philly is an old city as it relates to infrastructure.
Yes.
So we have more fires than what most major cities will have. We have one of the best response times and one of the best percentages as it relates to fatalities. So
The
pay
end
them.
looks like
You know what I'm
the
saying?
ends justify the
pay
means.
them.
It
You
looks
feel
like.
me? Pay them, because at the end of the day, at any moment it could be you and your folks.
Yeah.
You want them showing up in a timely fashion.
And we heavy
with
row
the best
home
foot
here
forward.
in
You
Philly,
feel me?
too.
Yeah.
So we had a hearing about it, and they were talking about how major cities like Chicago and they've had these major fires that have forced major cities to change their infrastructure. And if you think about Philly, homes, schools, old manufacturing buildings, we got old
I remember
infrastructure.
my mom is from West Philly, 55th Immediate.
Yep.
And I remember, that's all real homes.
Yep,
And I remember she used to say, like, people would grill on a porch. And the porches are wooden. And she couldn't understand why they were doing it. And I remember, for whatever reason, we came up there the block over from Media. One of the people was grilling on the porch, and that porch court, bro, looked like Watts. I'm talking about the whole block. Like, it's all wood and it's all connected.
Yeah.
So that fast, it's like we don't have that single standalone home issue that certain cities
But think
have.
about, you don't hear a lot about like those terrible fires. Like one of the worst incidents that has happened since I was on council was actually a fire where a lot of children died. It was in North Philly. It was super sad. But you just don't hear a lot of negative fire incidents in the city compared to how bad our infrastructure is. It should be worse.
Oh,
But
yeah,
because
for sure.
they do a great job. Now, another issue they had, this is boring. So you can cut this out the podcast and make the clip.
They
But
like born.
all right, cool. We it's hiring. So when you have like the fire department struggles to hire, so you have built-in overtime because they have issues with actual. fires,
So that's
you feel
part
what
of
I'm saying?
basically.
So it's built in, like so
yeah.
when you get your schedule, you're gonna have these many overtime hours.
It's
because they have
it's not
staffers.
just, it's a lot of agencies and authorities that deal with that. Just from what I've seen in places I've worked at, where it's like you'd be surprised how many places can't fully staff because they can't keep qualified people there.
Right.
That's a real thing.
So from our perspective, we might pay them a lot in overtime, But it's like they got something that worked. We got so many other things that's broken. Let's figure this.
Let's leave them alone.
Let them do their thing a little bit and figure this other stuff out.
Yeah. You previously served in your same role, at large city council under the Kinney administration, and now we have a new mayor.
For sure.
And Cherelle Parker. How has that transition been from one administration to the next, considering there was a historic turnover in city council as well, because everybody except you ran for mayor?
Right. It's been a journey. With Kenny, especially towards the end, we had a lot of autonomy. With
Kenny wasn't go.
Check it out.
Y'all down there?
With Mayor Kenny, we had.
I didn't even know y'all was down.
Who all gonna be there? Man, I don't know. I ain't feeling it. the aura in the chambers is just I can't really fuck with it.
Anybody got some sage?
I mean, so that. Mayor Kenny, that was them, right?
That's us, not.
That was definitely us.
With Mayor Parker, I think the definitely different, for sure, very different, right? And whenever there's change, you know what I'm saying, there's new systems in place, new people in place, so that transition is still happening. I think what the biggest difference is people feel better. That mattered more than anything.
Yes.
So,
she's definitely making herself a visible force, and I think that matters.
And the bar was low, right?
Yes.
Mayor Kenny wasn't the person who was going to walk the streets, and I'm sure he'll admit that part, right?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't.
Going out there.
So, but Mayor Parker is, Philly girl,
Yeah.
right? She's Mayor Parker, but she a Philly girl, so she's gonna go get that cheesesteak. She's going to show up to that Father's Day event. She's going to do those things that's part of that Juneteenth parade.
Absolutely.
That stuff that's part of the
Brook. Yeah.
You feel me? It's just it's part of the stuff that make you, the DNA of the city and make people feel and touch their mayor, because people have quit on government. Government is a cloud of everything to most people, right? They don't see city council or police or schools or state.
All
right?
of y'all
It's
together
everything
as
all
one entity.
together.
Yeah.
And most people in Philly, right, feel like government quit on them. Right? Oh, I ain't voting for president. Ain't no difference between Biden and Trump. Biden messed up the economy. Do you know how to spell economy?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? You don't even know. Like, what? So, but people are just regurgitating the information they hear on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Right? When you go on Pandora or you on YouTube, this is the ad you hear while you listen to your favorite artist. So now it's become second nature, and now all you're doing is regurgitating what you've heard. But while we might question people's understanding of government, we can't question their lived experiences. And what we have to respect is people struggling. Real rap.
Yeah.
And when they go to their school is crumbling. When they go to their playground, it don't look good. When they go outside their home, if they ain't sweep it up themselves, their community is dirty. So at the end of the day, we could laugh down at City Hall all we want, but the average day-to-day person, they don't even see the difference in their life from president to president, from mayor to mayor, from governor to governor. Now, for us in this space, it's important that we explain to them the difference, right? So when people say, oh, it's no difference between Biden and Trump, well, do you care about a woman's right to choose? Because that damn sure is very different now in 2024 than what it used to be. You feel me? Do you got older parents who rely on insulin and other medicine? Well, that was way more expensive before than what it is right now. So I hear you saying the economy bad. Did you talk to your grandmom or your auntie who got diabetes? Because they're going to say the complete opposite. They're actually going to say that the economy is better than it's been in a long time because they ain't paying thousands of dollars for their medicine a month anymore.
Yeah.
So it's...
But to that point,
For
to play
sure.
devil's advocate, we talked about this with Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah.
Why is it that the Democratic Party at large, whether it be local government, state government, federal government, is having such bad issues communicating that these are the things that they're getting done for people so that they don't just repeat that and regurgitate that information that they're getting from all of these independent sources?
Because you're doing it after you did it.
Not
You ain't do it when you did it.
Right.
Everybody think Trump gave him money because he put his name on the check.
Right.
He did the victory lap when it was happening, and the reality is he didn't give us that money.
Right.
He okayed it, once Senate and Congress already approved it.
Right.
But he was resistant to that money.
Yeah,
originally.
absolutely.
You feel what I'm saying? So like, you gotta tell people what you did for them when you do it. That's a big part. I remember when I passed one of my first bills in city council, and the council president at the time was Darrell Clark. And, we were going through the technical side as it relates to the budget. And he was, his people reached out to ask, if I wanted my name on the bill and what we needed to do. And I was like, nah, y'all ain't got to worry about that. Ain't that deep. We got the work done. That's all that matters. He called me personally. Young
put
boy,
your name on that
let me
bill.
give you a lesson.
Let them know
You
I
feel me?
did this.
You do the victory, you because at the end of the day, at some point, something gonna happen and people gonna forget. And the only way they're gonna remember is if you tell them. And when we do get this done, we're gonna teach you how to get press, because you don't want to just tell them then, you want to tell them now.
Right.
And that was a lesson for me, because I come from spaces where that's not how we move, especially as black folks.
Yeah.
So it's like in this space, you got to take that victory lap, and that's what the Democratic Party struggles to do, is to take the victory lap when it actually happens. Child tax credit. People don't know what a child tax credit is.
That's been a big issue that keep
talking
coming
about.
up. Yeah.
What do you mean a child tax credit? All I know is when I did my tax returns. On this time I got this amount of money. On this time I got that amount of money. Right. That's all I know. But you can't, and that's where we struggle at. And now, 6 months before Election Day, 4 months before Election Day, we're trying to remind people of what was going on in 2022.
And do you feel like it's too late? Like, people are already like so disgusted in the process that they either gonna sit on a vote, or they might actually take the time to like vote Republican?
Politics tell me it ain't never too late. Ain't no such thing.
Yeah.
I seen some crazy things happen.
Right.
I watched people win races in the last hours.
Yeah.
It ain't no such thing as too
Mayor
late.
Parker was a razor thin race.
I mean, we talked about President Johnson earlier. Go look at how he run his city council seat.
Right.
A couple dozen votes.
Yeah.
So anything could happen at any moment. Look at how Chris Rabb won his state house race. Anything could happen at any moment that puts you in a position.
I look at our Philadelphia elected officials, right? This new wave, like you, Kathy, Jordan, Morgan, even Kenyatta to a certain extent. He's the president now. Y'all have done such a good job at making yourselves just like notable figures. And not just when it comes to politics and what go on in City Hall, just in what go on in life. Why does the big side of like the Democratic Party not have that at times? Like, why is it that they miss out where you look at, Republican Party has who they have at the top, but it's like, it almost feels like they just don't connect in that way. Like how I just ran into you at the Sixers game, or I'll be here and see someone here, or I'm here and I run into Kathy. Like y'all are just out. Even Cherelle Parker, she's out and about.
Yeah, she was at the barristers' breakfast.
She's just out and about, moving around.
I think, I remember when I was in a Freedom Schools program, we used to study this speech by Dr. King, and it talked about the drum major instinct. And in the sermon, Dr. King talked about this natural thing in all of us. It's as natural as breathing and needing water to just want attention, even from a psychological perspective. Look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So Dr. King talked about it, and he talked about it from the perspective of moving into a space and a place of power. And when I used to work the Freedom Schools program under Marion Wright Edelman, we used to be trained specifically on managing the drum major instincts, right? So the slang way is like, not forgetting where you come from. It's hard. It ain't easy. We around a lot of money. You in City Hall on a consistent basis. One of the reasons why I still coach high school basketball is because it keep me humble and it keep me informed.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day is what happens is that when people move up to a certain space on the pecking stool, they become removed from our communities. I also think the Democratic Party eats its young. I don't care what nobody say. Democratic Party eats its young. I don't know what the Republican Party do because I'm not a part of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the Democratic Party eats its young. And, there are many of stories and plenty of times that I've been a part of, whereas though, especially like more of a national, not necessarily as much locally, but when people begin to matriculate to a place of like really blowing up, just don't happen. I mean, Stacey Abrams to me at one point was like on fire.
Yeah.
Right? People was talking about her running for president.
Mm-hmm.
How we ain't find a platform for her?
Right.
How y'all ain't run them numbers and know she was going to lose that gubernatorial race worse than what she did before?
Right.
Now where's Stacey Abrams? That's a star that's gone.
That's
we
gone.
had an opportunity to make a star right there. And I'm not saying she's gone. I'm sure that there's great work happening in Georgia. I'm sure she's doing something. But that national profile that she built went where? She built all that political capital.
She built a ton of political capital and social capital during COVID because of how she managed it and fought with the governor and all of that. And then, like you said, it just kind of like she lost that race, and then it's like, oh, dang, like everybody kind of almost like it looked like they shifted off of her, at least publicly.
I'm saying, but I mean, that's the game. When you lose, right, and then you lose again, right? But like what I'm saying is this. Just like we have a local party, there's a national party.
Yes.
If you run the national party, you're watching Senate races, congressional races, and gubernatorial races. She didn't lose by a little bit like the first time.
Yeah.
She lost.
She lost, yeah.
You feel me? Y'all, you could have pulled that and seen that was going to happen and say, yo, we need to pull her out before she loses this race.
Right.
Because if she loses, she faces irrelevance. Let's wait and run her for U.S. Senate. Let's wait and run her for Congress. Let's figure out what do we do so she can remain relevant.
Let's not burn her publicly by going to the end of this race and then having it look like she wasn't qualified to run to begin with.
Is that the same thing that happened with Sid Booker?
Cory Booker.
Sid Booker.
Sid Booker is crazy. But shout out to Sid Booker since you brought him up, right? He got one of the best black-owned businesses in the city. You feel me?
I ain't even since lunch, man.
You feel
Cory
me?
Booker, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, nah. Cory Booker's still relevant. He didn't win the presidency, but he's still a senator over in Jersey. So you know when you were sitting elected and you run for president, that can only raise your profile. Now, if you keep doing it, you got to improve your numbers. Your numbers got to be getting better. But if your numbers getting worse, that's going to ruin your profile. But Cory Booker is very much in the mix, and people talk about him running for president in 4 years.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is in general, when you look at like the macro for the Democratic Party, Obama was a godsend because he had the look.
Yep.
He knew how to talk to people. He knew how to relate to people. And he knew how to galvanize people and bring people together.
For sure.
So much so that when he had his initial meeting about campaign funding and all of that, he gathered all of the powers that be. And just because of the people that were in the room that were saying, yeah, we're going to do this, they got behind him, and it was so. It turned into...
You're talking about the first time he won?
First time he won.
I'm saying, so remember, Obama wasn't the plan.
Yeah, he wasn't the plan. Yeah,
the plan was Hillary.
Yeah, he threw himself into the ring.
Right, but that's actually a great example of what I'm talking about, because if it would have went the way folks wanted it to go, Obama loses that race.
Yeah.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's another example of your young being eaten.
Right.
But it didn't go the way people wanted it to go.
So with that in mind,
primary.
why hasn't the Democratic National Party been able to produce another dynamic candidate? Maybe not Obama, he's like once in a lifetime, but somebody approaching that level, as opposed to people, the general public sentiment being like, it's more of the same.
Yeah, I mean, the National Party didn't produce Obama, though. So, I mean, you asking them to do something that they haven't done in my lifetime.
Got it.
You feel me? That's just me, what I see. Yeah. And I've never seen it. I mean, I think making, our Vice President Harris, I think they tried to propel her into that space, but I don't think that they considered that while she was vice president, she would have to take hits.
Yeah.
As part of what it mean to be the vice president. So now, on a certain level, your credibility is impacted because people looking at you saying, well, what have you done? And the reality is the vice president can't do but so much.
Right.
So
you serve at the foot of the president, essentially.
For sure. And so you see with Hillary before, when she stepped away, part of what she looked at, she didn't go to vice president. She went to Secretary of State.
Yeah.
A little more visible.
Exactly.
A few less hits.
Yeah.
A few more wins.
More autonomy, too.
More autonomy, but then also a little riskier because now you're dealing with global politics.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's tough. But I think what you're asking a party to do is something that I haven't seen.
It's counter to what their normal modus is.
I just haven't seen it. You know what I mean? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
So where does that next transformative Democratic presidential candidate come from?
I mean,
I look at Josh Shapiro and I see one.
I was about to say his options. I mean, you mentioned Cory Booker earlier. I was going to say, a lot of people, see Josh Shapiro as somebody running in 4 years. Outside of them two, I know it's a lot of other people across the country.
Allowed?
Gavin, yeah. Gavin Newsom is an interesting case study because he had the world's attention, messed up, you know what I'm saying, been a little bit of a freak, did he galvanize the state again around COVID to where they was like, we don't care you was a little bit of a freak. You did the right thing in terms of getting these people together and health measures and all of that and keeping people safe during COVID, and it made him a viable presidential candidate again. But he pretty much cooked himself as far as the 2024 election was concerned. But I think they still have high hopes for him later on down the line.
Shapiro Booker, got a little leg up on most.
I think so too.
Because they can influence swing states, and I think that's a big thing is, being able to get a nominee who can win the swing state. Your blues are going to be your blues, your reds are going to be your reds.
Exactly.
The election is won in the swing states. So having somebody who can win swing states is going to be the biggest thing. If you look at Biden, right, one of the things people liked about Biden is that, while he was a Delaware guy, he was from Scranton. He had that PA Scranton ties, and he felt like he was somebody who can win a swing state. Combine it with somebody on the West Coast, and that's how you get that Biden-Harris ticket. So I think that's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think people underestimate, obviously people in political spaces, but I think when you speak to like the average United States citizen, they underestimate how important a state like Pennsylvania is, how important winning New Jersey is and stuff like
Pennsylvania, Ohio,
Michigan.
Florida seems red now.
Very red. Texas is very red also.
But those swing states, they're the main ones that matter in this type of
Minnesota.
I think it might be Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
Arizona's a very important one, battleground state too.
So those those are going to matter the most. And whoever the candidate is, you want somebody who can pretty much assure that you win those swing states. So I think this year's race is important. People who are voting for Trump, I might not agree, but I would, I just want people. I want people to vote. I want people to get used to voting. I want people to vote every year, twice a year. I want folks to recognize, like, when you don't vote, you know what I mean? It has a direct impact on your neighborhood or your community, on your day-to-day life. It do. Yeah. And I know people feel like it doesn't. I'll be back on the podcast to debate whoever. Yeah. So you could, because if you're going to tell me that voting don't have a direct impact on your life, then you must adhere to the Garvey school of thinking, and you've removed yourself from
you're abstaining from the process.
That's what I'm saying. But who picks up your trash? Who fixes your potholes? What street lights do you operate under?
Who governs your court system?
What happens with your local parks and recs? Do you not adhere to the police? If they pull you over, are you going to say, I'm not a citizen?
I'm a sovereign citizen.
I'm a sovereign citizen when they get booked.
I'm just saying, it's just, all this stuff has a direct impact on your life. Yeah. And if you got kids who want to do things like go to college and get a quality education, right? Government determines the cost of state institutions. So when that tuition go from, $20,000 or $40,000 because states are saying that they're no longer going to put money in the state institutions, that's your life. That's a real bill.
Right.
And, I got student loan debt. They really want their bread back.
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm. If the election were to happen today, do you have a prediction or outlook on what you think might happen as far as presidential goes?
I don't got a good enough thermometer out there in all communities to see where folks is at. And that's the thing, right? Everybody putting all the pressure on the black community.
Heavy pressure on the black community.
Why? So let's say, hypothetically speaking, we see a drop in the number of black men who vote Democrat. Is anybody talking about, what about the 50% of white folks who watched the insurrection, watched the woman's right to choose being taken away, and still vote for Trump? What about them? There's no pressure on them for their numbers to move?
No.
Which is insane.
Which is crazy.
I'm going to do my part in black spaces and in spaces all across Philadelphia, but I just think it's crazy that the dialogue is all about the black community.
It is
and
heavy
black men.
To black people. You need to be selfish with your vote.
I'm saying, I'm not saying I don't agree with some of the things that's being said, but I'm just saying, like, there's no pressure for white women to stand up for women and vote against Trump. Where's their pressure? Their right to choose has been taken.
Yeah.
Where's their pressure? Why is the pressure on us? I don't hear people saying, well, how can, whatever percentage of white women still divide, but they say it about black men. You feel me? So I just think it's a lot of pressure being put on us. And the reality is like, we got a lot of people who are subject to misinformation. Our communities are being targeted. Do y'all be getting them text messages?
Oh, yeah. I was so confused one day.
This is a crazy thing. I got all these staff that work for me, and I ask everybody all the time. I got one a day. I be like, yo, do y'all get these text messages telling y'all, like, the economy is bad, Biden is this? Nobody else gets them. Only people who get them be the black men that work for me. So people are spending millions of dollars to make sure they neutralize us. Are they doing that to white women? No,
absolutely not.
So I'm saying put some pressure on other demographics that's not just black people.
I think my biggest issue with the way that the Biden campaign is being ran so far is that they're still not taking the victory lap of talking about policy, and what they did is just like Biden good, Trump bad. That's not going to do it. That's not going to get it done.
That's 100% no way, no how going to get it done. They will say they are doing it. And my pushback to them is it's not landing.
It's not landing at all.
You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not because
all
the algorithms,
all the commercials I'm seeing on Hulu and all of this is Trump bad, Biden good.
It's not in my algorithm. Me too. Every time, every day, not every day, probably once a week, I get a text message telling me about the economy being bad and how this America has been terrible for Biden. And as a person who's in politics, I could tell they're not trying to get my vote. They trying to keep me
trying to
voting.
neutralize your vote.
They just want me to stay home.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like it's not fair to us that we often get the least from government, but the most is expected of us, while the most money is being spent to misinform.
Brian Boyer brought that up at Seat at the Table, where he talked about, a lot of black men are just opting out of the process because we've been promised stuff and we didn't get it.
That's part of it. We've gotten some stuff. We haven't gotten everything, but I'm saying they're spending millions of dollars to feed us misinformation. Yeah. And at the same time, we know that the resources don't come our way.
Yeah, just instead of spending the millions to market to us, just give us the money. Like just put some programs and some legislation out there for us to where we're like, oh, now I can vote for my interest because this connects.
But the people who spending the money ain't the people who want to see us be successful. Yeah. But on the other side, that's why I'm very tactful at how I spend my campaign funds. Yeah. I ain't got the millions that everybody else do, but I try to sponsor this organization, support this local business, because at the end of the day,
an organization you can sponsor.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, don't play that part. I don't even. You can edit that part out. But it's important that people see at least where we can, right?
Yes.
Sponsor this local organization, support this entity, do what we can to move resources in places that don't traditionally get them.
It is interesting you said it, because I definitely got one of them text messages, and it definitely said, how bad Biden is, how bad their Kamala is, and that was it.
That's it.
It wasn't even like vote for this. It was just we just want to let you know.
Yeah, shit fucked up.
Pandora, YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Biden says the economy isn't bad, and they'll play you a Biden clip and just telling you.
You did the perfect voice and everything. Yeah.
Things are bad. This, you know what I mean? It's like that's how you know you're being targeted to not vote. Yeah. It's never good to not vote. Never. It's never a time where you could wake up and say my vote don't matter. I can tell you up and down the ballot how it matters, how it has a direct impact on your life. And if you vote in this way, this is what you're voting for, this is what you're voting against.
You might be the third or fourth person that's come on here and said that they had a win or a loss by small
For
numbers.
Sure.
I think Kurt Jones said his first time he got elected was by like 2 votes in each area.
For sure.
Like
hey, listen, Kurt ran for city commissioner when he was like 18, 19 years old. Like back in their day, they was trying to do groundbreaking stuff just to disrupt it. Yeah. And for us, a lot of us, we don't even want to be in the political process at all.
At all.
We don't want to have a conversation. We don't want to look into what people are saying. Nah, they, man, I can give you multiple stories of people, especially judges.
Oh, yeah.
Judges who won by,
super
50
narrow
votes.
Yeah.
Yep. And it mattered, right? So now you go into court, and this person looking at you like you a piece of meat, or you going to court and you're looking at a sister that grew up in North Philly. Justice swings different based on the experience of the person that's sitting on the bench.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It matters.
Yeah.
So,
shifting gears a little bit, I think that was a good talk around the presidential election. In the last few months, Mayor Parker has come under a little bit of fire by certain people, especially social media, for some of the changes she spearheaded. Stuff that people mad about. PPA writing tickets on non-visible window tint, banning gambling machines, tag flipping devices, and banning street mechanics. Do you think these changes are necessary to improving the long-term quality of life in the city, and people should just shut up?
Some people should never shut up.
Okay.
That if it bothers you, say something. We work for y'all. Some of them are necessary, some of them aren't.
I love that answer.
But the main thing is she's trying to change perception. What she's trying to do is show that Philadelphia is not a lawless city.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia is open for business.
You said she banned gambling machines. Where was I? What gambling machines?
Like, you know, them gambling machines. Like, all right, so say if you got a bar or a lounge or whatever that.
Oh, you talking about them Jones be at the gas station?
Yes, them Jones.
Yeah, them Jones are a nuisance.
Yeah, but it's like if you have a bar or a lounge that seats 30 people or more, you can still have it or whatever because it's a attraction as a part of everything you got going on. But if you're a gas station and you got 3 gambling machines, down
I'm going
in the corner,
into a gas station where there's just enough room to get gas and gamble,
which is crazy. Which is crazy.
Enough room in there to get gas.
And you got to think a lot of people in that joint don't got a car.
Yeah.
So they just sit there.
I pulled up at a gas station one night. I swear to God, I was like, I don't even know if they open because there was no cars in the joint. Then I seen the open sign. I came in. It was like 8 people in there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, hit the 4. Hit the 4.
So that's a city council bill. So clearly I voted for it. I think I'm not saying that everything is necessary, but I think it's important that we change perception, and I see her doing that, right? And I also think it's important that people see that we want to be open for business. That's important because at the end of the day, our tax structure is not one that's favorable for businesses. If I have a podcast business, right, and I don't rely on foot traffic for my podcast to be successful, why would I have my business in Philly? I can say I'm a Philly podcast and record in Abington. Call it a Philly podcast.
In Delaware.
You feel me? But now,
say nothing.
we're tell my man, Mr. Cherelle, we don't want him moving, right? We want him keeping this studio right here. But the reality is that because it costs more to do business in the city, we have to make sure that other things are taken care of. Now, we are going to visit that, right? I can assure you, right? I've introduced legislation to lower the BIRT tax, which is the business income receipts tax. I've introduced legislation to lower that the last 2 years. And I didn't do it this year, but I will be revisiting that next year. Yeah. And we're going to continue to try to lower taxes in the city because the pandemic showed people you could work from anywhere.
Yep.
So now that you could work from anywhere, right, that's on steroids. Why would I be in Philly if I don't need Philly foot traffic if it costs me more to do business in Philly? So we got to change that narrative now and get people here, especially people
California
who don't need
is experiencing the same thing. They have a mass exodus of big multinational companies that are leaving because it costs too much money to do business here. So Tesla, Apple, bunch of other companies all moved their headquarters to Texas.
Here go another basketball comparison. When they talked about the Lakers offering Dan Harley, UConn coach, the job, one of the reasons why they said he didn't do it was because of the amount of taxes he was going to pay in the contract that the Lakers offered him.
Pay 53% in taxes,
which is insane. You feel me? So if you only offering me $12 million a year, I'm only really making maybe like 5.56. I'm already making that at UConn, and I'm a legend. I'm going to come here for 2 years and be out.
I got a little card. I go to the cafeteria.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a legend over here, bro. But the tax side of it is major, and it's a big issue. So for us, think about Conshohocken and Melbourne and all the surrounding suburbs of Philly. Their recovery post-pandemic has been better than ours.
Yes,
from a business perspective.
I'll give you a perfect example. Danny Govberg had he has a real estate company in addition to his watch brand and all of that. They had an office set up in my family's building, Billy Penn Studios. Oh, okay. They moved, part of their decision at the end of last year, they moved out of that location into a similar location in Conshohocken.
Yep, that's what I'm
because it was going to net save them like $350,000 in bottom line money to the business by being in Conshohocken versus being in Philadelphia. So even though they preferred to be in Philadelphia.
We coming back for them. That's a great example of what we're trying to do as it relates to taxes and the tax structure to get people just like that to come back to Philly. So know that we brainstorming and we thinking, and when we get an answer,
right?
we coming back.
How do you feel about Mayor Parker having all of the city workers back in office full time? Do you feel like that was a major issue the way they were making it?
I just wish that the conversation would happen behind closed doors.
Okay.
I don't think that this is a public conversation that should be happening in the public the way it is. It makes government look dysfunctional. I think that she should meet with the representation from the union, not necessarily her, but her team, meet with the representation of the union, come up with a happy compromise, and she get what she wants with her messaging, right? The most important side of that is the message, right? Because at the end of the day, pre-pandemic, if you go downtown during the daytime, it's packed. Mm-hmm. Food trucks, foot traffic, businesses, whatever. That ain't the case right now.
Right.
Right now, nightlife bring more people to Center City than businesses do.
Absolutely.
Nightlife, the nighttime is when Dilworth Park will be packed and people walking the streets, going to clubs, going to bars. Before, it was the daytime that had all the foot traffic. So we looking at it from a revenue perspective, right? And we're saying that we need to send even more signals, right? Cleaning the city, crime, those are good steps, tax cuts, right?
Yeah.
But we need to send as many signals as possible that people need to return to work. So saying all city workers is coming back to work, that's hopefully just another signal that encourages that business that's thinking about going to Conshohocken.
Right, to stay in Philadelphia.
You feel me? So I just wish the conversation wouldn't happen in a public discourse the way it is. But the messaging around come to Center City, come back to work, come back to the office. It's important, and we need it from a revenue perspective.
I had a conversation with a girl, and she basically, like, everything has changed since
sure.
COVID. COVID completely flipped everything.
For sure.
And it wasn't like we dealt with COVID for 2-3 months. Yeah. This has been 4 years that this has been going on. So now, people have adapted a new normal. Think about if you work from home and you got a child that is in daycare 3-4 years ago or you didn't even have a child. Since you had them, they've been home and you don't have to pay $1,300 a month for daycare. And now you go, it's just a lot of things you got to think about.
In certain jobs, they're competitive in nature. So, for example, the law department. The city has our own law department. Being a lawyer in nature is competitive. If you have somebody in a law department who's a good lawyer and they've been working, maybe hybrid, half remote, half in person, and you stand a chance to lose that lawyer to one of the dominant law firms because they can pay them more and give them that same remote schedule, what do? Right? Because a lawyer is a position where it's like, do you need to be in the office? There are certain positions where it's like, yo,
I mean,
come back to work.
You got lawyers that bill millions of dollars in billable hours every year and don't have any office. They operate out of Starbucks.
But you got to look at it also from a competitive perspective. Like if the city loses a lot of good staff members in a particular department because they work in a competitive field, that will now say, well, I've done 15 years with the city. I've earned my pension. I've gotten comfortable in this style of work. I'm going to go to the private sector where the demand is just as high, collect a few more dollars, and keep my same schedule. Right. So for certain jobs, you might need to do that. You might want to do it. But for certain jobs, it's definitely, you got to be able to compromise because we can't lose good people. Right. And that's what the collective bargaining side does. And believe it or not, it will happen because this is what happens in collective bargaining, and it'll work itself out. It always do. That's why I wish that the conversation didn't spill over to the public.
And you remember during the pandemic, jobs were legitimately leading with that. Or you could stay home.
Yeah.
That became like the number one thing on a job posting.
But from the perspective of revenue for the city, Center City buildings are losing their value big time.
Big time.
I've read an article where it's talking about how many buildings are in foreclosure now because they just have no one occupying them.
Right. So you got to think if a Center City building at one point was worth $500 million and now that building is down to $50 million, imagine how much tax revenue the city lost.
Right.
Because we was collecting real estate tax on that building with a value of $500 million. Now that's down to $50 million, we are now collecting tax revenue on that building worth $50 million.
Then you combine
lost all that revenue.
The revenue loss of Made in America being canceled 4 out of the last 5 years, essentially, where now, aside from that, Rocnation Events, who are at, I believe, at 1501 Market Street, they're considering moving their headquarters out of Philadelphia to somewhere else because they like, all right, we don't even know if this festival is happening anymore, period, let alone in Philadelphia. For
sure, which I respect, and if they're listening, we would want them to stay here. But I just want to be clear more for y'all audience. The festival isn't not happening because of the city side.
No. I'm not saying that it is.
Because the city has done everything we can, including some of the concerns of the neighbors and trying to address them to make the festival happen.
My assessment as somebody who worked in event production for over 15 years is that the landscape of producing festivals changed and they didn't change or adapt with it fast enough. Okay. When you look at Rolling Loud and Bonnaroo and Lollapalooza and compare the experience for your dollar of what you get compared to Made in America, it's night and day. It's not the same
What about
thing.
the Roots?
Roots is more akin to those other type of festivals.
Gotcha.
And what also happened is that Live Nation Urban being so pronounced and so promoted, they started to cannibalize a lot of the talent that normally would have went to Made in America, and they're doing so 3 months in advance. So
you just told me something.
Yeah. So like when Victoria Monet sweeps the Grammys and wins 3 Grammys, and then I see her on Roots Picnic, that's a problem because that's an artist that normally, because of her prestige, would have went to Made in America. So now she's blacked out.
Got you.
She's not relevant. She's burnt in the market for that 120-day, 180-day period. So now she's not even relevant. So the fact that the industry stopped producing stars as fast as it normally did, and Made America was so headliner driven. It's like, all right, once you do Beyonce twice, Jay-Z twice, Kanye West, Drake, Lil Wayne, Bad Bunny, it's like, all right, well, who do we have left? There's not enough. And then on top of that, our sister company to us, Live Nation Urban, is taking our acts. What do we do? Because who the fuck do we? They gonna put me and Matt on stage. Like,
I also think Roots is because they're Godfather status in Philly.
Sure.
That the Roots are gonna always be able to do whatever they want. Philly. Think about last year they had Dave Chappelle come and do a night down at the stadium. They're able to do that, but I don't necessarily know if you put that on the same level as like a Lollapalooza, or a Bonnaroo, or what was Rolling Loud. It's 19 Rolling Louds now. Gotcha. So it's like
Portugal, Italy,
like Rolling Loud, Spain, like it's just crazy. Gotcha. So I think Made in America just ran out of supreme high level talent, and they really don't have like almost like they say like no post game. That's essentially what it is in basketball terms. They can shoot the 3.
Right.
Post is non-existent.
Non-post.
Got you. Okay, that's good to know. So I don't know. We gotta find a way to replace it.
Yeah. So that's the next thing. It's like, all right, well, what do you replace it with? Festival Pier, I just drove past it in order to come here today. It's condos. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's no Festival Pier. So we're running out of spaces and places to host these big events. It's almost like, yo, you got 300-400 rooms like Punchline and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You got a 1,000-person room like the TLA. You jump all the way to 3,000, 3,400 for the Fillmore and the Met, and then it's like Wells Fargo. It's nothing in between.
So Comcast proposed to build a stadium down there to address that issue down at the in South Philly,
in the sports complex. Yeah, it's like you need.
That's part of that $2 billion thing they was talking about
down at the sports complex.
You need something on the in between because like. There once upon a time, like a lot of people was doing shows.
They might need to hire
the
you.
The Tweeter Center. Yeah, I'm available.
I'm available.
I consult at $500 an hour. I'm available. But a lot of people in those in between markets were doing shows like summer shows at the Tweeter Center and stuff like that. Yeah. BB&T over in New Jersey and things like that because Philly didn't have a venue to accommodate that 13 to 15,000 person event and stuff like that.
Hey man, look man, City Council need to hear that.
Yeah, we don't have like a good amphitheater.
No, it's like they got the Skyline at the Man, but even that's only like 7,000.
I thought it was like 5,500.
Yeah, it's like but when you include the grass, it's like 7,000.
Right, yeah, there you go.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
So it's like so now we're a lot of events that would be applicable to Philly when you routing tours and stuff. Yeah. They're jumping over Philly because we don't have the room to accommodate where these artists are.
Yeah, we got to do something about that because, 2026, a lot of people will be in the city celebrating a lot of different stuff.
Exactly.
We want to make sure that people come back.
Yeah.
So, that's a good point.
Like
we got the World Cup, right?
Yeah. Look at like
celebration of the country.
Look at like I'm sorry to cut you
All-Star
off.
Game.
WrestleMania this year.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like in between spaces that could have been utilized for supporting events to WrestleMania that just like they just don't exist.
Yeah,
you know
we
what
don't
I'm
have
saying?
the venues. Yeah, we've been hearing it.
Yeah, we've been ECW.
No, we've been hearing it. That's good to know though. And at the end of the day, that tourism part is a big part of the DNA of the city. That's a big part of our revenue. We say Philly is the city of eds, meds, and beds. And, clearly the eds is the schools, the meds is the hospitals, but the beds is the hotels.
Yeah.
And that tourism is important for us. So.
How has tourism been for Philly the last few years?
It hasn't fully recovered yet.
Yeah.
But, I think for us on the government side, we want to kind of catch up to the private sector to get ready for 2026.
Right.
The private sector is doing their part.
Yeah.
It's a culture community, sports community, everybody's getting ready for 2026 because it's a big year. Government, we got to do a little bit more. And that's not just city.
Yeah.
City got to do a little bit more, but state and federal got to do
be able to support what you're trying to get done here.
If you look at a lot of our big historical landmarks that people are going to come visit, Constitution Center, Liberty Bell, things like that. Those are federal parks. So we need federal dollars to make sure that federal parks are up to the highest standard.
Yeah.
So when people come to the city, they're good to go. And, we want to make sure that Philly is tight.
Yeah. What do you have any thoughts on friends to the show, our friends, David Edelman and the Sixers? They're trying to get this arena built downtown, and they're getting supreme pushback. Not necessarily from the city itself, but more so, well, they have gotten some pushback from the city. I know their blueprints got kicked back a couple months ago, but more so from the Chinatown Association, Market East Association, stuff like that. Like, they're not trying to let this arena happen. Do you have a dog in the race one way or another? And do you think that if it were to find a happy medium to get done, that it is something that could be a net positive for the business corridor in Market East?
No, that's a great question. And, any smart politician wouldn't answer that question. But unfortunately, I like to answer questions. It starts with the mayor, right? It's going to be up to her. City council, we are not going to take a vote until she takes a position.
Got it.
There's no point in us saying where we stand because somebody's going to be mad no matter what.
Right.
That's the nature of what when you run for office. You got to make tough decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But if the mayor says no, there is no decision.
Got it.
Now, if she says yes, then it goes to city council. And then we analyze it and we all take a vote. And if she says yes and we say no, then it's dead.
Right.
If she says no, we don't even need to take a vote on it.
Right. Nothing to talk about.
She's saying no. If the mayor says no, I believe if you tell them no, you need to have an alternative for them.
Yeah, because what if they say, we're just going to move the team out of the city?
Oh, yeah, I know. Bro, I said earlier.
Go get the Mayflower truck.
Yeah. Oh, it's no. Okay.
My cousin is the mayor of Camden, like I said earlier. You feel me? So I know for a fact he just, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on over here. Right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, because if you think about the Golden State Warriors, right?
Be the Camden Crunch.
Nah. But think about it. The Camden Crunch is crazy.
In a heartbeat.
Camden Crunch is crazy. But think about Golden State, the Golden State Warriors, right? Like, do they play in? Where do they play now? They
moved to San Francisco.
They moved.
Yeah, they were
From
in
Oakland.
Oakland. Yeah.
That don't impact Warriors fans across the country.
Yeah.
So if the Sixers go across the bridge and keep the name of the Philadelphia 76ers, right?
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah.
But anybody,
but
here, it would touch us, but it wouldn't touch people's perception of the Sixers. Where do the Brooklyn Nets play at? I don't know. It's probably the most examples of stuff like this. But at the end of the day, I think that if the mayor says no, I think it's important that we help pick an alternative because the construction jobs are jobs in general.
Yeah.
The contract with the workers, Unite Here and SEIU 32BJ, right? Those are sustainable jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, billions of dollars in economic development, when done right, can definitely be a good thing for the city. So for me, I want to see I want to see development. I want to see jobs. I want to see job creation. I'm not, I like the idea of like what you talked about, the Comcast proposal, right? Like we got to really do an impact study, no matter where we decide to put these stadiums at, because at the end of the day, these are voids that are needed that will help.
Absolutely.
Entertainment.
And to me, it looks like it's like, all right, if we're not going to do it and we don't have a viable alternative, it's just another example of like Philly settling for like good enough.
I mean,
and it's like that's not going to get us where we
like
need
the
to go.
Delaware Avenue proposal, the original one.
Okay.
I'm on the board for the African American Museum, and the Delaware Avenue proposal did come with tax credits.
Where were they going to put it on Delaware?
The land ended up being purchased right there off of like near Market Street, close to the Center City side.
Oh, down. Oh, that far down. Okay.
There's a lot of vacant area over there. So the
like
thing
where they just took down the bridge?
I'm not sure. It might be.
You said
there.
Delaware Ave.
Delaware Ave.
He said
Market.
Close to Market.
Close to
That's
it.
where
Not
they.
exactly
They
where
took
it is.
down the bridge that wraps around.
Don't hold me to it. I haven't been down there in a minute. So, but the thing with that proposal was there were tax incentives which people didn't like, but it was a new African American museum and a new school that was going to be built. Now I'm on the board of the African American Museum. Right. The city just pledged $50 million to the African American Museum in capital money over 5 years.
Okay.
You get where I'm going with the math?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had to do that And we had the Delaware Avenue location because the African American Museum would have been located in the same, not necessarily in that same general part, but in the same corridor, right? And we would have got a brand new school out of it too. So while you might have been giving them tax incentives, right? Some of the things that was coming with the project were things we're going to have to pay for anyway.
Yeah, true.
So I don't remember how much the tax incentive was for them to be on Delaware Avenue. I had just was coming into council around that time. But I know we putting up $50 million for the African American Museum.
Because their latest,
we got to spend $6 billion on schools.
In their latest proposal, from the last time I looked at it, the stadium has ballooned from like 1.8 to 2.3 billion. So that's the first thing, based on certain changes and stuff that they had to make or whatever. So it's ballooned up to 2.3 million. They're saying we're going to foot the bill for that in full. We're going to give a direct economic payment to the citizens of Chinatown, even though we're not affecting their quality of life in their neighborhood. And we're going to give $50 million to the city over 10 years in direct economic payments in order to do whatever y'all want with that. So that's money that could have been shifted to the African American Museum, to whatever that the city elected that, deserved that money.
Sure. You know what I would ask to sweeten the pot? Because all that's good.
What's that?
So because the training center is in Camden.
Move the training center here?
No. You keep the training center there. But the team, the company needs to be back in Philly.
Incorporated in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. So, like, at the end of the day, while the Sixers, like, every single game the Sixers play, we get tax revenue from that?
Yeah.
Nah, every time y'all come into work, I want the tax revenue.
Got
it. I would, to sweeten the pot, I would also say that the Philadelphia 76ers entity, the headquarters, whatever you calling it, right? Yeah. Every day when Joel Embiid gets his check, that's a New Jersey company unless he played a game in Philly. So for those 41 games, we get that revevenue. But for the other, 300 and whatever days, 20 whatever days, that revenue goes to Jersey. So that if I were thinking about doing it, that would be another thing I would ask to sweeten the pot.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this,
all employees got to be Philadelphia.
And looking at the structure of their business, I think the reason why they did that is because they also own the New Jersey Devils and the Prudential Center.
I'm not mad at it. I'm sure it's from a financial perspective.
I'm sure just thinking about it.
I'm just saying this I'm negotiating.
Yeah.
So if I'm negotiating and I'm at the table.
Well, Dave Chappelle, just hustling, baby.
You feel me? If I'm at the table and I was negotiating, that's something I would add.
Yeah.
Just to sweeten the pot and to bring more revenue for the city. So, so I mean, I'm not, we haven't made a decision. We got to look at impact study. My biggest concern, Chinatown is clearly something everybody's going to talk about. But I trust the council body to protect Chinatown.
I think there's a lot of bad blood there with Chinatown in the city of Philadelphia because of eminent domain and
the convention center,
Vine Street Expressway.
I trust us to protect Chinatown.
Yeah.
What my biggest concern is impact studies around revenue, the future of East Market Street, and also the hospital. Since Heidemann closed, Jefferson Hospital collects a lot more, emergencies and situations, and part of the construction plan would definitely impact people's ability to access Jefferson Hospital.
Got it.
So, looking at the entire gamut is going to be important, right? And, we haven't even looked at impact studies or had any dialogue yet. And we're not going to do that deep dive until after the mayor makes it.
Right. In a perfect world, what does Philadelphia look like in the next 5 years?
That's a great question. I mean, I think in the next 5 years, you kind of see the writing on the wall. You can see some of the new development and new construction happening. But because of a number of things, you're not going to see much big construction, a lot of residential construction for sure. These stadiums that are being discussed as decisions are made over the next 5 years, none of them will be built.
No.
You'll also see, I believe, a shift in schools. We're going to definitely look to do something about the facilities crisis. I think public education will be one of those tangible
I definitely
changes.
want to talk to you about schools before we let you go.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's my thing. So I think public education will be one of them tangible changes that you'll see over the next 5 years. But most of the change is actually happening now. You're looking at it, especially where we're located right now.
Yeah.
You're seeing it, you're touching it, you're feeling it. We're in Kensington, so, while you might not see much different in Kensington culture, you see
No, I ain't gonna hold you. Driving up here today, it definitely felt a little,
Nah, you ain't got to lie, bro.
No, I'm not joking. It felt a little less raggedy than the last one. I'm telling you, it did.
Isaiah, like, my ride was terrible.
Maybe we came from different angles.
So I coach Sankofa right down the street.
Yeah.
So I'm in Kensington every day, all the time, and I like.
So you be talking these guys. I don't get out. You know what I'm saying? I was just riding, Light was green. I kept moving, you know what I'm saying?
I like the attention that the neighborhood is getting. It deserves it.
It's getting a ton of attention.
It deserves it.
A lot of attention, a lot of development, a lot of new businesses down this way.
So the cleanup is going to take time.
Yeah, right? For sure.
We know that. But the attention and the priority, I think, is a beautiful thing. And I think that's the part that's noble about, us, local government, really pushing for change.
Right.
Highlighting the community, making sure people understand, like, even though it don't look the way you want it to look, you can't say you're not a priority. And I think that's the biggest thing in this neighborhood. People always thought they was an afterthought. And at least that part has been addressed so far.
As bad, because I used to drive the 54 and the 60. So I was coming through this joint.
Yeah, for sure.
And knowing what I saw.
60 was 60 at Allegheny,
Up
right?
and down Allegheny.
Yeah, I used to catch the 60. I went to Conwell, middle school.
Okay, yeah, and 54 is Lehigh. So I've been up and down.
I wasn't no
this
54 boy, but the 60.
Yeah, stay away from that. John, I've been up and down this. And knowing how ridiculous it got out here, seeing that someone is putting an effort to clean it up and really put a light on this area, you have to at least be like, all right, we'll try it.
Right.
For sure.
Because the last couple years have been like, yo, do whatever you want down this joint. So,
what they call on the wire? Amsterdam, right?
Yeah.
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Yeah.
No, I agree 100%, and I'm happy to see the advocacy. My colleague is Ketsi Lazada, district council person for this area, and she been, hitting the ground fighting as it relates to the neighborhood. So, no, it's huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
To the schools point.
Yep.
And then we'll let you go. Jay-Z and Rocnation recently made headlines relative to Philly, talking about this $300 million private school voucher program, saying that he would back it. Not that he would pay for it, but he would back it. Yep. Which would essentially remove these certain select students from the Philly public school system. I've seen proponents for it, and I've seen opponents of this program. Can you articulate the good and bad of a program such as what's being proposed?
So I think the first thing to understand is Rocnation and the role of Rocnation. This is a lobbying arm. This is a lobbying firm. So think about, Jordan Harris, who, I know he love y'all to death.
Right?
Yeah, shout out that's Jordan. Our guy, man. Shout out Jordan.
Yeah. So me and Jordan go back forever. Jordan will work with a reform, right? Lobbying organization to be able to pass legislation. So understand that, Jay-Z might not even been in the room when this decision was made.
Right.
But this is Rocnation operating like so many different organizations do to advocate for a particular issue.
Yeah.
So people need to understand that part. The money is taxpayer dollars.
Right.
Right. It's taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. So in a situation like that, are they just saying divert the money that normally would go to the district to this voucher program? Or is it a separate line item as far as tax?
Separate line item.
Okay.
So they're not saying take money away from public schools and put it here. They're saying we have an extra pot of money here.
Right.
Let's use some of it for this.
Got it.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Here's your problem. When this child chooses this scholarship, the districts get paid per pupil, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as children opt out,
the city budget shrinks.
Of course it does.
Over time.
Those districts' budgets, because you lost a pupil.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're technically saying, we're not lowering the $240 million, that's not a real number.
Yeah.
We're not lowering the $240 million we're giving to the district. We're still going to give them that money.
Right.
But we're just creating this money over here so that these children who are over here can take advantage of going to this school. So problem number one is, even though you're saying you're still going to give them $270 million, that number will essentially decrease over time.
Yeah, just by attrition because you have a finite amount of students.
Bingo. So that's one problem. The next problem, we have over $6 billion deficit in just Philadelphia with facilities alone. If y'all got an extra $300 million laying around, my people at Frankfurt High School, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Right? We need that. Overbrook High School, they need that. I just was on a call with Northeast High School, right? We don't have I don't know, sports people growing up in Philly right now, it ain't like when we was younger.
Right.
Pub chip, season over. These kids got states. They got so much stuff. So because how high school sports is governed has changed, right? They're now looking at making a rule that says your facility has to be up to a certain standard to host a home game. So if this rule passes by the PIAA, I got my hat on.
Yeah.
If the rule passes, right, no Philadelphia facility will be up to the standard to host a home playoff game for any outdoor sport. We don't have a football field. We don't have a baseball field.
Track
we
and
don't
field.
have a softball field. Well, we can't host nothing because our facilities are that bad. So you got an extra $300 million sitting around. Let me get Northeast High School that field fixed. Let me get that locker room fixed. Let me give Frankfurt a brand new field.
Yeah.
Let me fix Frankfurt facility. You know, ninth graders who go to Frankfurt, they at like Clemente or something like that. They don't go to Frankfurt because
Right.
the building is that bad. So
how did we, that doesn't happen overnight? How did we get here where all of these facilities are so bad? Because somebody on the other side would say, we gave y'all the money over XYZ amount of time. You mismanaged it. What happened?
So first of all,
but the superintendent got a $600,000 renovation on his office a couple years ago and got a no confidence vote from all the principals because of it.
So we'll get to that. So first of all, the money is, so the courts actually said that we don't get enough money.
Right, I saw that.
So the courts said that Harrisburg don't give local schools enough money. The U.S. Constitution says education is the responsibility of the state, which means the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania should put more money in the schools than any sector of government.
Right.
In Philly, that's not happening.
Right.
We, city council, the mayor, local government was putting up more money than the state. That's unconstitutional.
Gotcha.
That's why
Didn't
you get
Jordan say
sued.
that it was
Like
like
4,800
underfunded?
per student.
4,800 per student.
Yes, you see what I'm saying? So technically, while we might see some spending that we don't agree with, that don't mean that we were getting enough money. So just because you see a line item don't mean that you disagree with, don't mean the budget overall was where it was supposed to be. I ain't going to defend nobody doing anything in their office. You come look at my office and look, you know what I'm saying? We don't, whatever. We'll have that conversation later. But in all seriousness, the schools are severely underfunded, severely. So the facilities crisis could be a mismanagement of money somewhere. I'm not going to say it's not.
Right.
But what we do know is that the previous leadership was hiding information as it relates to how bad the facilities was. It was so bad that we had to pass a bill on city council to require a certain amount of transparency with all buildings.
Yeah.
Right? And the school district didn't like that. So guess what they did? They sued us.
Wait.
Right. It's so confusing.
The school district sued
this is why
the
people
city?
don't. This is why people don't like government. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, why is it like? So your tax dollars was wasted, right? Because not only did the school district sue us, we now have to go do what? Defend ourselves.
Right.
We have to now go to court.
Yeah.
Right. And
Against
that means,
your own school district.
But you got to think, a lawyer, somebody got to check for that
For sure.
on both sides.
Yeah.
That's your tax dollars right there.
So that point that you making right there can almost be a point to the opposition to say, why would I give y'all this money? Y'all are wholly dysfunctional. The school district sued the city. Why would I give y'all this money?
You're absolutely right. All we did was give people ammunition who are not supportive of the idea of free public education.
Right.
That's all we did.
Yeah.
So it was a bad look, and it's just another example of a line item, right, that you just don't agree with, but that don't mean it ain't underfunded. It's just a line item that you don't agree with.
So the macro problem is it's not enough money, period. There's all these micro problems that are underneath that substantiate, like, all right, this shit look a little funny, but we still didn't get enough money to begin with.
Exactly. And it looks bad.
Yeah.
And that's why I say when people, look at government as all one cloud, right? It's like y'all just playing with the money. That's what people see when you see the school district sue city council. Yeah. Y'all just playing with the money. Y'all down there playing around. Y'all understand what we going through. Because to the average person, that don't even make no sense. Yeah. But that's what happened. We went in court. We come to a settlement. Now they got to tell us what's going on with the facilities. And that's why over the last couple of years, you've been hearing all this crazy stuff about Building 21 and Frankfurt High School. And
because they were suppressing it all of these years and not being transparent.
Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, I read an article from the Enquirer, February 21st. It was actually written by an English professor from the Philly School District. And she basically said, like, she did some independent fact finding, whatever. And it was like, these different things that were going on. It was like $500,000 in books that were allotted for elementary school students that were still sealed, that never got used the prior school year, and we were already halfway through the 23-24 school year. It was a bunch of Chromebooks and smart pads or whatever that were being like thrown away in mass, like stuff like that. And what she ended up saying in her conclusion was like, yo, we do have a lot of mismanagement in terms of like line items, money and stuff that's going to weird places. However, we are still severely underfunded.
One doesn't have,
season 4
both can be true.
Yeah, both can be true.
Remember
Both
when
can be true.
what was the teacher? Presbo. Remember when he
Presbo.
found all of the computers and all that? Like, what the hell we doing with all this stuff?
Both can be true, right? We can't use bad line items on the budget to justify why enough money ain't there.
Right.
One don't got nothing to do with the other. Do we need to get better? Absolutely, we do need to get better.
Is there going to be a resolution with, in regards to how the school district is being funded via the state? Because I know it's a lawsuit, litigation, and all that going on with that too,
give
right?
the governor credit. They put in $242 million in new operating dollars, and that's just for Philly alone.
Right.
So, and it's over a couple years. So give credit. It is new revenue coming. It is more revenue
That's
coming.
great,
on
man.
our side, we increased the percentage of real estate taxes from 55% to 56%, with the goal to get to 58% over the next couple years.
Yeah.
So it's more revenue coming. There's new revenue coming. I mean, that part is definitely happening. But just remember, when we talk about new revenue, that's operating dollars. That ain't capital costs.
Right.
Capital costs is a different line item in the budget. So while we are going to get maybe new technology, raises for teachers and stuff like that, all that stuff is good.
Yeah.
But that don't address the capital crisis. None of that new money is for fixing facilities and buildings.
Right.
It's a totally different pot, totally different line item.
Yeah, I think what she ended up saying was that the overall feeling for people that work in the district was that the money that was being allotted was not reaching close enough to the students.
It's not. For sure. That's why people don't like to donate to the district. Like, that's why we start these nonprofit organizations that work in collaboration with the district, so people can ensure that the dollar goes directly to the cause or the purpose that they're essentially advocating for. So that's been a problem since we've been kids in the district.
Last item, and then I'm gonna let you go, man. This has been a phenomenal interview.
Hey, man, I'm loving this. Man.
Y'all can listen to you talk. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. But I can listen to you talk, man.
I appreciate it, bro.
I'm gonna read you some census data as it relates to Philly. It's the most updated one from 2022.
Okay.
Philadelphia County average median household income $57,000. The rest of PA $73,000.
Mm-hmm.
Per capita income last 12 months from 2018 to 2022 in 2022 dollars. PA was at Philadelphia was at $35,500. Rest of Pennsylvania $41,234, and then persons in poverty percent. Philadelphia County 21.5%. Pennsylvania 11.8%. What do we do to improve this economic disparity from a city in Philadelphia that's the biggest, most representative, most important voting district, most important economic hub, and all of that for the entire tri-state around it? How do we improve the quality of life for our citizens and begin to have more economic prosperity here just compared to what's going on in the rest of the state?
Hey, man, that's a great question. And if you could ask me that loaded question, I could give a loaded response, right?
Do you think?
All right. So look at it in 3 phases. First, I'm going to compliment the city. Then I'm going to talk about how we got here.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to talk about what we're going to do.
Perfect.
All right. Complimenting the city. Part of the reason why we have so many poor people in Philadelphia is because we protect poor people. Other major cities across the country, the reason that they've addressed the poverty issue is because they pushed the poor people out.
Kick them out.
They can't afford to live there no more. The power wash is crazy.
Street cleaning. Guess who's on it? You niggas.
Right. So if you look at other major cities, I ain't gonna name them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But poor people can't live in most neighborhoods outside of, some type of subsidy or government housing. So that's where I want to compliment us at.
Got
So
it.
part of it is like, we're not saying get out. We're actually trying to move the needle. Now, this is the critique for us as government. We do an excellent job of finding legislation, resources, and programs that make people comfortable while they're poor.
Mm-hmm.
We do a good job of protecting poor people, but we do not do a good job of pulling poor people out of poverty.
That's real.
So that's what we've done in the past. That's how
Yeah.
we got here. That's what we've done in the past. What do we do moving forward is the question. First and foremost, we got to fix our schools. the jobs are out there. When you look at the biotech industry in Philly, healthcare industry in Philly is booming. This past school year, an announcement was made for a collaboration between CHOP Hospital and Mastery Schools.
Yes.
So now when you graduate from Mastery, if you know you're not going to go to college, you can take coursework in high school so that you're certified to be some type of health tech at CHOP Hospital straight out of high school.
Yeah, I think it's a couple different fields like phlebotomy. It's like a few different things.
You know better than me, bro.
To that point, I'm speaking with someone. He's a big fan of the show, and he know who he is. He went to Bach, and he came out of Bach with a carpentry class coming out of Bach, and now he's literally running for his company maintenance and facilities, and he's been doing it 20 years. And he came literally like, I graduated Bach Friday and started there Monday. And Bach is a bar,
right? So, now, right? And so
a
lot
t-shirt
of
printing facility.
You know, and apprenticeship programs,
wrestling down the hallway.
The apprenticeship programs are great, but this booming healthcare field, we got to give young people entryways into this space.
Yeah, that's the more so the point I was talking to. Is you want entryways into actual working.
So Parkway has a dual enrollment program. You can get an associate's degree and a diploma. Schools are the foundation. Mm-hmm. We got to fix the schools because we got to produce quality people to go into the workforce. And then we got to grow more professional jobs. So when you look at jobs that pay anywhere from $30,000 to $45,000, those are the only type of jobs that are growing in the city of Philly. Right. And partly because of what we talked about earlier, if you are a business that doesn't rely on Philly foot traffic, it's hard to convince people to be here. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do, we're going to take an aggressive look at our tax structure. We have a tax commission that's out right now. They're going to be giving us recommendations, and we're going to make you're going to see some aggressive advocacy as it relates to lowering taxes for businesses, providing grant programs, recommending KOZs. I'm a big fan of a KOZ for tech, gaming, and coding companies. So, you know, podcast businesses come in that category. Yeah. That's a big thing for me because at the end of the day, if I'm like I've been saying, if I'm the type of business that don't need foot traffic, what are you doing to incentivize me to be here? Well, a KOZ, it don't get no better than that. Look at what it did to the Navy Yard. You feel me? Yeah. The Navy Yard, a totally different place. So imagine if we picked a predominantly black and brown neighborhood and gave that abandoned strip the opportunity to develop and be a KOZ.
Right.
You know, y'all know our community, we would kill. Yeah. We'll make it the new popping area in the city.
Yep.
All we need is an opportunity. All we need is a chance. So those are the type of ideas that we're looking at to move the needle on poverty because at the end of the day, Philly is the city of the working poor.
Yes.
Most people who live in poverty in Philly got a job.
Yeah.
They ain't lazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Some people got two and still poor. Another large percentage of the poor people in Philly are children. You know what I'm saying? Kids couch surfing. You know what I mean? I'm with my aunt this week. I'm with my best friend this week. That's poverty right there. Right. So we are going to move the needle. I'm very confident in what we plan to do, but we also got some great programs right now that moves the needle. The Neighborhood Preservation Initiative is a great program that we have within the city. It's a program called Turn the Key, where we give Philadelphia residents houses that's worth like $280,000 for $175,000.
Yeah.
You got to be a city employee, Philly resident, and you eligible. We've already started giving those houses away. So that's building wealth. That's giving people equity in themselves.
Walking
and
into equity in this property from day one.
For sure.
So only going to go up from there.
And so, you know, we're going to look to move the needle and the work continues.
Man, it's been a phenomenal conversation, man. I just want to thank you so much.
Hey, man, thank y'all for having
joining us today. We definitely look to have you back again and again and again when when the bell tolls and we need your expertise to
love it.
Speak to these city related issues.
Man. Hey, man, look, I could do sports, hip hop. I seen y'all had Core on. You know, I would love to be here that day. I love his new album. I know I'm not supposed to. I'm a little old.
Shout out to Core, man. Everybody is in love with that freaking album. Man.
Hey, man, it's a good album, man. It's lyrical.
I really enjoyed the panel discussion we did because that was dope. Just seeing everybody be a little bit laid back.
We just talk too much.
Yeah.
We do. We talk too much. Then we get in the room. We be disagreeing. I just think we spend more time together than we do.
We had 30 questions.
Yeah, y'all probably got through two. Yeah.
Two.
We talk too much. You know, I see Jory. He serious. I don't agree with him. Bro, so we just miss each other.
Yes, man.
Yeah, that was dope.
We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. TRP Nation, we are out of here.
Peace.